Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sketch series. Today I'm going to be sharing some basic tips on how to do some simple figure drawing. Drawing the human figure is one of the most challenging things, in my opinion, for an artist. And one of the things that I like to do as I demonstrate a couple of quick figure drawing demonstrations here, one of the things I like to do is break it down into simple shapes. So you can kind of see here that this is a very rough sketch. Each one of these takes me about 30 to 45 seconds. I mean, since the time of starting this video, it's barely been 30 seconds and it's over. It's very, very fast, very, very efficient, and I want to convey gesture, I want to convey form, but I don't want to get bogged down in details. The point of these kinds of sketches is to get down all the information you need to get down so that you can share something or show a story or show what this character is doing, but not get bogged down in all the line work and all the perfection and all that. You would then take these figure drawing sketches, these quick thumbnail sketches if you will, and import them to a computer and then do them digitally and then finish off everything, render them digitally or with a light box, or simply do them in a pencil and then render them with a pen and then go back and erase your pencil lines. This one I'm going to slow down a little bit and show you a little bit more, and I'm going to make this one more exaggerated. I find that the more exaggerated you make them, the more you understand how things function together. So instead of trying to make everybody look super realistic and standard, see if you can make someone really gigantic and really buff but still look human, and then see if you can make someone look really thin but still look human. That play on the amount of mass that the person is carrying on their skeleton will really help you understand how things fall in, how things fold over each other, and really give you a much more clear understanding of what's going on. So that last one, you can kind of see the basic shapes that I use. So here I'm drawing the basic shape I use for my bodies. This is for men. For women, it's a totally different thing for me. I still don't have it clear, so I'm not going to do a whole thing on women. Not yet anyway. But so that's the shape I use for the body. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7-sided. So what is that? Septagon? I have no idea. And then the head is basically the same shape, but a little bit more elongated and a little bit more pushed in on the side, caved in on the sides, and elongated overall. And you can kind of see how they have very similar features. And again, this is just my style. You can make it more rounded, but keep those sides and that geometry. So once we've done our head here, we're going to go ahead and get started with the next step. Now the next step for me is one of the hardest bits, and that is, if you see there, I'm editing something on the side there. There we go. The next step is the arms, and I like to separate it into the upper arm and lower arm. The upper arm, I usually do a ball where the shoulder meets the arm and the chest. In other words, where the arm socket is, the ball, the socket that connects to the body. And then the lower arm, which is basically the forearm and the hand as well. Now, the hand can be very tricky, and I would probably dedicate a whole other video to just doing hands. But just to give you a rough idea of what I do with my people's hands, it's kind of like a little pentagon, and then the little fingers are like little sausages or little things that pop out of the pentagon. If you look at your hand, you notice that your middle knuckle is a little bit bigger than the rest of the knuckles. And to cheat that, I put the middle knuckle as my largest point, and then my thumb on another side, and then all the other fingers fall on the other side of the middle knuckle. Again, I'm just trying to convey basics here, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the geometry of it all. But here you can kind of see me break it down into these shapes. I started off with the body, and then I add the ball, the two ball socket areas, and then the arms, upper and lower arms, and then the face. And as for the pelvis and as for the legs, I kind of just use the same shapes as the upper and lower arm. And the feet, I just I wing it. It depends if he's wearing something, or I don't know, I just wing it. So you can kind of see the overall shape you can get going there. And then I usually try to end up doing a couple of doodles in there to show, musculature and stuff like that. So let's take that and let's put it into practice. So in this section of the video, what I decided to do was to draw a few people using this technique. So I'm going to draw one facing forward with kind of a weird design, and then one facing sideways, and then maybe a close-up on like a face or something. I don't know. We'll see. So you can kind of see here I have my basic shape for my head, and then I drew the neck out of it, and I have the shoulder muscles. And you can kind of see behind them, I'm using very, very basic box shapes, pentagons, circles, and triangles to really tell the story of what this thing is. And what it is a basic male figure. This guy is, he's in good health. He's ripped, but he's not super buff, I guess you would say. He's, I don't know, lean muscle, I guess you would call that. And one of the hardest parts about doing figure drawing is deciding what pose you want to give someone. So very often you can tell when someone hasn't really thought about it ahead of time because the pose will be a little bit awkward. This pose that I chose is extremely awkward. If you ever try standing like this person, you're going to have a hard time because you need to balance your weight between your two legs. And it looks like this guy would fall over to the right side of the page there. Anyway, I like to gesture in some shadow lines for the nose and the eyebrows, and then draw in some very thin arms on this creature, on this man, and some basic hands. And since I'm doing a very rough sketch, I don't worry about hand positioning and perfection. Again, normally what I do with this is how my sketches go. My pencil stage is usually just this, and then I go back. So first I do this lightly with a pencil. And then usually I would go back with a pen or darker with the pencil and add in information about the face, information about, if he's wearing a costume or a uniform or clothing, and then go back with the pen and render it cleanly. So here's a little bit of a side view. If you ever stand in the mirror with proper posture, the body has kind of like a weird slight S shape. In other words, the head protrudes a little bit forward, and then the shoulders are squared back, and then the stomach and chest form a flat forward position, and then your butt is going to stick back a little bit, and then your legs kind of fall in the middle, and your knees, if you're standing up straight, usually align with where your clavicle is, or where your breastplate would be, I guess you would say. So you can kind of see how it looks from the side. And again, I only did one arm and one leg because I don't think it really matters. It's just for a quick sketch anyway. And I always like to draw a little shadow to convey dimensionality, like one leg is behind another, stuff like that. Okay, so we have two sketches done in this style, and again, I'm using basic shapes. Notice, again, I used that seven-sided shape. Here I'm making this guy a lot buffer, so his shoulder muscles are going to be a lot bigger. He's going to have much more prominent features. And then here's, instead of doing like a little ball or a little circle for where the arm hits the body, I do a much more square shape. Think of it this way. The rounder you are, you're probably not as buff as someone who is more rigid. A more rigid person has much sharper edges. So if you want to convey more muscle and you want to convey more lean muscle and strength, draw sharper lines. I know it seems kind of weird because when you look at someone you don't see sharp lines, but the shadows and the play of light and shadow will really convey that message. So you can kind of see that there. And then lastly, I believe I am going to draw, and it's down there. Oh, I hope I moved the video. Oh, that would be so embarrassing. But basically I draw a close-up of the side of the head, the neck, and the shoulders. And you can kind of see how everything falls in. His head is protruding out a little bit, and then you see the front, his breastplate, and his shoulders are squared back, far back behind his head. So it's kind of as though he's leaning forward. So hopefully this video helped you guys, give you guys some tips, some basic shapes that you can use to do some really rough sketches, really rough things. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.